record.
There we go.
And
Now,
I
what kind of
believe,
thing?
what was that, Gary?
I was going to say, what kind of thing are we going to read that's going to spin my head out?
Well, I think we started on this one and we needed to reread it and do it again because it
Oh,
was heavy.
I got to scratch my back real quick. I have this
Who
back
wants to read
scratcher
it?
that someone gave me. I live with this back scratcher.
Nice. It looks so Australian.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I have this one spot on my back. I call it my lizard spot. And it just itches all the time. And I'm like, oh, well, my back scratcher helps. Okay.
Who's going to read?
Who would like to read first?
How about for Coralie, since you won't be here for 4 weeks?
Yeah, we're going to make you
Won't
read the
you?
whole night, Carly.
Are you going away, Coralie?
Oh, I've got a job making costumes. So
Oh, fantastic. Congratulations.
thanks. The separation and the atonement, the origins of separation. To extend is a fundamental aspect of God, which he gave to his Son. In the creation, God extended himself to his creations and imbued them with the same loving will to create. You have not only been fully created, but have also been created perfect. There is no emptiness in you because of your likeness to your Creator. You are creative. No child of God can lose this ability because it is inherent in what he is, but he can use it inappropriately by projecting. The inappropriate use of extension or projection occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you and that you can fill it with your own ideas instead of truth. This process involves the following steps. First, you believe that what God created can be changed by your own mind. Second, you believe that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or lacking. Third, you believe that you can distort the creations of God, including yourself. Fourth, you believe that you can create yourself and that the direction of your own creation is up to you. Yes.
That's a mouthful.
Reread it.
I love this one sentence. To extend is a fundamental aspect of God, which he gave to his Son. In the creation, God extended himself to his creations and imbued them with the same loving will to create. I love that sentence. But this is what kind of spun me out a little bit. You take that first sentence and then you go down to the bottom sentence down below where it says, fourth, you believe that you can create yourself and that the direction of your own creation is up to you. But yet up here it says, you are imbued with the same loving will to create. It seems contradictory.
Well,
but
I guess
maybe
it's
I'm
addressing
reading it right.
I guess it's...
Well, I think it's addressing what how we've distorted our ability to create. And that's why by the end of it, it's saying that we are starting to create, but not from
oneness.
Yeah. From our separations, our oneness, yeah.
Okay.
What were you going to say, Linda?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it does say this process involves the following steps. So just above that, the inappropriate use of extension or projection occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you and that you can fill it with your own ideas instead of the truth.
Yeah, even when Coralie was reading it, I had to go back and think of, so this isn't what we want to do. This is what's happening. Yeah.
Yes. And this
Yeah.
is how the process occurs. This is what we end up doing. So we have actually got the flip of what is being said at the top, because that's what we believe, or that's how we work below. Is that, am I getting?
Yeah, because they're really talking about the inappropriate use of extension. And that's what the first, second, third, fourth are really about the inappropriate use of extension.
Because it's coming from lack.
Yeah, coming from lack and a space of emptiness. I keep trying to apply it to my own head and my own life. I can absolutely relate to this. Huh.
Yep.
Because of your likeness to the Creator, you are creative. No child of God can lose his ability because it is inherent in what he is, but he can use it inappropriately by projecting.
So we're creating all the time. It's just a matter of where we're creating from. It's the story of the grey and the white wolf again, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm beginning to realize how constant and consistent fear permeates a lot of our thinking. I'll speak for myself, for my thinking. And like, I know this stuff, like I teach this stuff, and I get really amazed when I think, where have my thoughts been for the last hour? What have I been thinking about? And I will find that it will not be thinking in the realm of I am one with God, I'm imbued with his loving will to create. It'll be something else. Tell me someone else experiences that, so I don't feel completely like a sham. Okay. But it's really important. I guess our self-awareness is so much part of what we have to be always alert to. I'm getting ready to do this talk at this conference in Denver, and I've just struggled with putting it together. Still struggling with it, trying to figure out what it is that I want it to actually be. And yeah, I'm still figuring it out. And I kept going to lack and doing all of that and thinking, I know what is going to happen. I'm going to get up on stage and I'm just going to start talking, and I'm going to ignore all my PowerPoints like I do, V, and I'll just rattle on, and it'll be a great talk, and I will not use one of my PowerPoints. And that's generally what happens.
Why don't you do up a PowerPoint? Why don't you do up just one PowerPoint and it says, "We will not refer to this at all."
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, but it's such an important part of being aware of what happens in our minds when we're coming from a place of lack.
Yes.
Are we done with this one then?
I think so. Are you guys feeling comfortable with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm curious to see what's next. Here we go.
Something in my eye.
Shall I read this one then?
Sure.
Or do you want to read it? Yeah? All right.
No, you
These related distortions represent a picture of what actually occurred in separation, or the detour into fear. None of this existed before the separation, nor does it actually exist now. Everything God created is like him. Extension, as undertaken by God, is similar to the inner radiance of that radiance that the children of the Father inherit from him. Its real source is internal. This is as true of the Son as of the Father. In this sense, the creation includes both the creation of the Son by God and the Son's creations when his mind is healed. This requires God's endowment of the Son with free will. because all loving creation is freely given in one continuous line, in which all aspects are of the same order.
Okay, well, there's concepts in here I've never heard of.
Hmm.
I had a question, and to get the consensus of everyone, when it says this is true of the Son as of the Father, in the sense that the creation includes both the creation of the Son by God and Son's creations when his mind is healed. So I'm assuming that the Son represents all humanity. Are you getting that, or are you referring to it as Jesus?
I'm thinking of it
I'm
as
getting
all of
it
it.
as all humanity.
Mm.
Yeah. Are
Yeah.
we in agreement with that?
Yeah, I'm wondering from it if it like before the separation. So was there a time of humans that were not separated or had separated?
I think the body is a dream and is not real. What I think they're speaking of is, remember when I told that story of going to that galaxy and everything was just stars and God was this glowing orb of like the sun. Do you remember when I told that story during Darshan in India? I know V
Yes.
does, because she's probably heard it a million times. But
Tell
all
it again,
just
around.
say again, V?
Tell it again, because we could record this and people watch it later that may not have been.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and tell it again, because it was a pivotal point in my life, still is. It's the one reference point I always go back to when I get too much in the separated mind, is that the darshan, which is the gaze of a perfect living master into your eyes, burns away millions of lives of karmic debt in like an instant. And that's the theory. So I was in India and I went to the place called a Bhojan Bandar, which was where they feed everybody. It was Bandara time, which is a big celebration of one of the masters in the lineage. And no other Westerner was there but me. No other spectator was there but me. And I came across the master giving darshan to the hill people, were a very, very, very simple people, like goat herders and sheep herders that lived in the Himalayas or in the foothills. And they had sevadors on each side. There was a long line, and the master was here, and the people were lining up in front of him. And as soon as he would look into their eyes, they would lose consciousness, go into the internal realms. Sabadors would carry them to this acreage where they had acres of blankets, and they would just lie them down in the field. And there were thousands of people in the inner spiritual realms. And the master would just give them a glance. They would literally go into the inner realms. They would lose consciousness of their body, and the Sabadors would lay them down. And I'm sitting against this fence, watching this thing that is like an absolute miracle occur for me. And I'm weeping, because it's so beautiful. And every time I would weep, the master would look over and give me darshan. And I would be like, don't look at me, look at them. I really was saying, please don't look at me, look at them. Probably the only selfless thing I ever did. And every time I would say, don't look at me, look at them, he would give me more darshan. Personally, I think that he was doing that to prepare me for what happened 3 days later. So 3 days later, it's the big Bandara. It's raining a little bit. We're all under tin roofs, and there are literally about 300,000 people there. And all of the Indians are chanting these devotional shabads in Punjabi. And so it's echoing, and it's raining, and it's echoing these devotional songs. And the master comes out, of course, as soon as he comes out, it stops raining, and he sits down on the dais and he starts giving darshan to the crowd. And I'm like 15 rows back. And he stops and looks at me, and I'm like, this is only my internal dialogue. I went, holy shit, he's looking at me. And I left my body and I went into the inner realms. I don't know how all that happened. I really don't. It had nothing to do with any merit on my part. I went into the inner realms and I found myself in this galaxy of stars. And it was the most, I don't have language to express it, but there was like a sun in the middle. There were trillions of stars orbiting around it. There was no difference between each individual star and the sun. It was all the same consciousness. It was like sparks of the divine contemplating itself as pure divine love. So it was like love contemplating itself. We were separated, but we were one all at the same time. And I remember being there, and I had a thought. I went, he took me to God. Like, this is the highest realm of creation that I could experience. This is God. And the love was so intense. It was, the only way I can describe it, it was ecstatic love that was so intense it almost hurt. It was almost unbearable how intense the love was. And I don't know if I was there for, 20 hours or 2 seconds. I have no idea, because there was no time at all. And this is where I think the separation came from. This is why I'm telling you this big, long story, because this is where I think the separation came from. I had the thought, I thought to myself, I'm with God. It's ecstatic love. I have oneness like I've never experienced before. And then I thought, I think I'd get bored with all this ecstatic love for an eternity. I would get bored. And as soon as I had the thought, bam, back down into my body, and the master was looking on. He kept me there just as long as I didn't have a thought about separation or myself. Are y'all with me?
Yeah.
So my sense is that each one of us got bored with love, and we wanted other experiences other than love. And we began to explore and want and have desires. And that is how we got enslaved in the separated worlds. And all of us are attempting to go back to that divine love again. And we do it in increments. But it is, I can't even describe the degree of love that is there. But if you think about all of us, are we not attempting to improve ourselves to get to that place where we can experience this divine spark of ecstatic love that is absolute oneness with all living things? That's what we all are striving for. That's where we came from. But it is our desires and our separated minds that believes we can't have it, or if we get it, we'll get bored with it. So I know, people say, oh, I'm not coming back. I'm like, yeah, right. Unless you've reached some higher state of enlightenment where all you want is God, and you're walking around this ecstatic state and oneness with God, like right now. No, we're probably coming back to experience this all over again, hang upside down in some woman's womb, have her head crushed by the birth canal, hop out into the world and start the whole show all over again to learn that God is the only thing we want. That God is the only thing we want. Now, if we get there in this lifetime, praise to us. That's what I'm literally going. Notice I said going to, which means it's in the future. That is what I'm striving for now. I keep telling myself, Gary, you have to work really hard, which is a lie. You have to work really hard to get to this one place financially so that you can stop all of that comment, all of that belief is separation. All of it. So when we sit back and really look at ourselves, I'm like, well, I'm going to meditate 6 hours a day when that happens. I'm like, Gary, that will probably never happen, because that day will probably never happen, because you still have a separated mind and you still believe that you're not being cared for, you're not being watched over in some way, and you have to have X, Y, and Z ticks crossed off before you can do that. I have criteria, and it's a lie. So that's a predicament of the separation and the distortion. And I love this line, the detour into fear. And we did it by our own desires of what we don't feel is enough. So I can know all this, but can I absolutely extricate myself from it? And I've had that experience. Can I extricate myself completely from it? Not yet. So I've already kind of consented that if I have to come back, I'll come back. But I have criteria. I have to have a great singing voice, be stunningly handsome, and be a man. I have to be a man. I cannot ever imagine being a woman and having to give birth to anything. I think it would be really high. I think women have the hardest road. I'm telling you, I do. I think I'm too cowardly to be a woman, because I think women really have it way more difficult than men. I really do. So I really admire the strength of women, because it's a harder road to toe.
So that should be our get out of jail free card, because it should be, well, we've gone through all of that stuff. We've had all these burdens throughout our lives as being women. So therefore, we shouldn't have to come back. We've already lived it.
It's still going to be your
theory.
desire. It's going to be your desire that binds you, my dear. It's not going to be the price we've already paid. It's going to be the desire that binds your heart. And if our desire is only oneness and the love of God, I would read some Rumi. All of us should get a book of poetry by Rumi and read Rumi, because in Rumi is, you would think Rumi is an alcoholic, but what Rumi does is he talks about the bliss of the wine, and all he wants to do is drink the nectar of the wine. But the wine is Rumi's metaphor for the love of God. And he'll just say, I'm drunk on the wine. I walk my whole day drunk on the wine. But he's drunk in the ecstasy of his love for God. I love Rumi. I've tasted that state very rarely, hardly at all. But once you taste it even for a nanosecond, you know that's what we're all looking for. I know that's what that's where my bliss is. It's not in anything else. It's in that. Boy, now I just feel like getting tattooed and pierced and moving to Maui and living in the jungles. You and I will meet up there, Lady Linda. We'll get a caravan and just travel around.
Okay, sounds like a plan to me, Gary.
But I'll be very tattooed. I just want you to know. And I'll have piercings in odd places. That'll be fine.
Oh, crikey.
You won't be doing any talks in Denver then.
Say again?
You won't be doing any talks in Denver then.
That's true. No, there's too much stuff I want to give to people, and too many people I want to train, and all of that. And so I'm going to stick it out for a while longer and see if I can't make that contribution.
I think part of the journey that I'm getting from this paragraph is that, yes, we're all in search of the oneness that you were talking about, Gary, but we put different words on it and we put things in place of it, but we're all trying to get there. And I think if we keep evolving, then we get closer. You know, like we think we need the big house and the car and holidays and whatever. But they're all stepping stones to something bigger and better if we're willing to willing to evolve.
It's very true. I mean, one of my criteria was, I don't want to have to live in any kind of sense of lack or fear, because I grew up that way. And so I had this desire to conquer that in my adult life, which, I fundamentally have, but I sure lived it when I was a kid. And one of my thoughts was, well, I have to get that kind of level of security before I feel like I can really, really relax and focus on what I know is real and true. But all of that's not the truth at all. I can be doing that at all times, regardless of whether I feel comfortable or not, or secure or not. But that's what would generally absorb my mind. That would be the narrative I would tell myself from an unhealed, separated mind. But I'm curious, you guys, I mean, since we're on this topic, what is your narrative that keeps you in a separated mind and have had you detour into fear? What is yours? Because I think in order for us to be able to really break through the lie, we first have to identify what the lie is for us. And I believe I'm close to really defining mine, but and it feels actually good to have defined it like I have tonight, because I don't think I've ever really defined it. But what is yours, so that you have the same opportunity to really look at the definition of your lie and your detour into fear and the birthplace of your separation? So V, I'm gonna look to you first. What do you think is the narrative you've told yourself about your detour into fear, and what's keeping you there?
So I think that I've always felt that I have to do everything myself. And that's the bit that I'm trying to break through, and trusting that I can actually let other people in, and it's not a solo journey.
Yeah. Carly?
A couple of things come to mind with that. One is fear of poverty, and just, that. And the other one was thinking that other people should be different than how they are. And I find that I do that a lot. And I think that other people do that a lot, which might also be part of my doing that a lot, is that I'm putting that judgment on them.
Yeah. And Lady Linda, what's yours?
Trust. Not trusting people. Well, I have the people that I trust. I mean, clearly you guys, because you've heard a lot of stuff from me that normally I wouldn't share with other people. So, but yeah, just being able to build trust with some people, and there's no reason why there shouldn't be the trust there. But I look at it that I've met them before in some other lifetime, and they've done me over. So clearly I'm still hanging on to that. I don't know. It's weird. Some people I trust, and other people I can't trust at all, for no reason at all.
So if you look at the distortions that we've each created and how we've separated ourselves from oneness and detoured into fear, how real is any of your evidence in the larger scheme, in the realm of your personality? It's stone cold real. In the realm of your spirit, is it real?
I don't think fear is real at all in, spirit. It's only our ego and our,
Well, I would agree. Carly, how about you?
Related to that, I had this thing lately. You probably remember me talking about sort of the family situation and stuff, and I'm particularly feeling sort of unnecessary in my family because they had their girl and they had their boy, and I was just this sort of thing in the middle. And then a while ago, I think it was the end of last year, I just sort of questioned my views on that, and I just asked myself, why am I, there's that one and there's that one, why am I in the middle of that? And then the answer that came to me was because I'm the beloved. And that's still blowing my mind.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how have you felt since you redefined it?
A lot lighter. And just sort of amazed at that was the narrative that I had created about everything and how unnecessary that was. Or maybe it was necessary, yeah, but just sort of, or I suppose that I created it all myself. And I had thought I had all this outside evidence, but I really didn't.
And that is that one thing that it says here. It says, oh, where is that? It's a source of eternal truth. I must be in the other paragraph.
Previous one. Do you want to flick, shall I flick back?
Yeah, just go back one. Maybe it's there. Oh yeah, there it is. The inappropriate use of extension or projection occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you, and that you fill it with your own ideas instead of truth. And that's what we've all done.
Yeah.
We have ignored the existence of the oneness of God in us. We have, for me anyways, I've separated myself off from God, thinking that there's so much lack in me that I can't possibly be that. But I can't possibly be that. But in reality, everything we think and dwell on becomes the means of which we create our three-dimensional world. And therefore, yeah, if I continue to think that I'm not part of the divine, I am going to experience not being part of the divine, and my fear will grow. And the more my fear grows, the more evidence I have I'm not part of the divine. And then I start drawing to me with literally the morphogenic resonance of evidence that I am separated and broken in some way. People walk up to me and go, oh, Gary, you're really screwed up. That's totally broken about you. I'm like, no, not that. But we're creating it. It's fascinating to me. This world trips me out, I'll tell you sometimes, because I'm like, our worst fears become our reality because we're constantly dwelling on them and creating this morphogenic field that draws the same vibrational energy to us to validate our belief systems. And then we call it reality. Well, we could have been thinking anything, dwelling on anything, and we could have created something entirely different. And that's where, when we're creating our resonant field in a way that vibrates at a really low frequency, we will absolutely become convinced that we're broken, because we get all the evidence we would ever want as a consequence of it. So this makes total sense to me. The origins of the separation is really the belief that we are not part of the divine, that we are separate, and we are not. I mean, when I came back down into that experience, from that experience, I opened my eyes, and there were 300,000 Indians all around me. And Maharaji was looking on to someone else to give darshan to someone else. He's very non-discriminatory as far as who he gives darshan to. He says, "Nee, nee, 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 nee." And I looked around me, I thought, I didn't go anywhere. I mean, like, I didn't physically go anywhere. My soul went somewhere, but I didn't go anywhere physically. I'm still sitting in the sea of humanity. And then I thought, so I'm here right now, but there's a part of my consciousness that's there.
Mm.
And perhaps I never left there. Perhaps I'm still there. I also simultaneously here. Perhaps. And then I thought, oh, that would just trip me out if I was already there and all I have to do is shift my mind to be there and believe that I can be there and believe that I can experience that and then dwell upon that vision that I had while I was there. And maybe I can recreate that. Maybe I won't be taken there, but I can remember the ecstatic love and the oneness with all creation. Therefore, I can at least get a reflection of that. And I do that periodically. But I'm telling you guys, we are in a place of absolute possibility and absolute, what's the word? I'll call it magic and grace. We're in a place of magic and grace, and we haven't appreciated it. I'll speak for myself. I haven't appreciated it. Okay. So, V, do you have anything you want to say?
Oh, what have I done now? Yeah, I can definitely see how, and I know this when I think I've done everything myself and it's all up to me, that there's been other people involved. Obviously, I mean, I wouldn't be here without my parents, even if I don't think they did much for me. So we're helped along all the way, and it's about being grateful about the journey, no matter the detours, no matter our expectations not being met from our ego. It's all, as you say, gently planned by someone who unconditionally loves us.
You know where we read this chapter or a paragraph somewhere earlier on when it was talking about our real pain is built on comparisons. Like, I really think about it. I think, okay, well, you know, I'm worried about this, I'm concerned about this, and what's my elder years going to look like? I'm concerned about that. And then I think, what am I comparing it to? My life's magic. You know, I mean, I literally live in a magical place. I'm super happy where I'm living. Finally, I finally turned to Robert and said, you know what? I could die here and be very, very, very happy. I found this place. It's like a slice of heaven. And I'm living in this like place other than the, you know, rogue golfers. You know, I'm living in this place that is really, really beautiful. And I'm thinking, I think I finally found my place to be. And so I'm thinking, what am I comparing myself to? And compared to what? I mean, if you think about all of us, have we ever been in a state of mind or in a place where we didn't have food, we didn't have some level of income, we generally have a roof over our heads, we generally have friends that care about us and love us? I mean, where has it ever been that any of us, been left absolutely destitute with a filthy blanket and a backpack and living under a bridge? Where have we ever had that experience? Never. Correct?
Correct.
So what we have to look at is, the bottom line is, there's something that is guiding us and caring for us. And we have to do our very best to be, in my opinion, a representation of that oneness. And if we can be a representation of that oneness, and I am telling you, I cannot always be a representation of that oneness because I'm a pretty fiery fellow. And when people really irk me, my middle finger has a tendency to rise, but it never does. I don't do that, but there's a tendency to, there's a desire to. And I just quiet my mind and say, you know, this is not in alignment with who I am or who I'm evolving to be. It's not going to be exhibited in behavior because I'll just install it in myself. I'm not doing it. So the bottom line is, for all of us, we have to be gentle with ourselves. We have to ask for grace and ask to be granted the grace to be able to see the Lord in all things. And if we were to do that, or to be granted the grace to fall in love with God like you would fall in love with a lover. And then every person we meet, including those you don't trust, Lady Linda, including everyone, that we look at them through the eyes of the same spark of God that exists in the purest form of life in creation, exists in that rogue golfer who wants to take my head off because I'm walking down a path on a deserted golf course. It's the same essence. It's the same essence. And if we can shift our minds from our separated minds reaction to, you know, the same spark of the divine's in there, I require to treat that person with the respect that I would give to God in its purest form. And if we can do that, which is no small task, by the way, I can do that maybe once every 1,000 times I get confronted with it. I keep telling, I must be like one of the worst disciples my master has ever had. I always remember last time I saw him, I walked in the room for my last time to speak to him privately. I walked in the room and he had this look on his face of like, oh my God, this guy's a dumpster fire. He had this really concerned, worried look on his face. Yeah, I'm laughing about it now, but I was like, boy, he sees everything. He sees my future. He sees everything. And he must have thought, well, he's going to walk down some dark alleys, that's for sure. Probably dressed in full leather, doing things he shouldn't be doing. But he undoubtedly saw everything about me. And I was like, okay, well, you know, no reason to try to hide anything. But I'll always remember that really worried look in his eye. Okay, I feel like I've just rambled this whole entire time.
Interesting.
Shall we move on?
Who wants to read paragraph 3?
I will.
Yep, cool.
Go for it, Linda.
The Garden of Eden, or the pre-separation condition, was a state of mind in which nothing was needed. When Adam listened to the lies of the serpent, all he heard was untruth. You do not have to continue to believe what is not true unless you choose to do so. All that can literally disappear in the twinkling of an eye because it is merely a misperception. What is seen in dreams seems to be very real, yet the Bible says that a deep sleep fell upon Adam, and nowhere is there reference to his waking up. The world has not yet experienced any comprehensive reawakening or rebirth. Such a rebirth is impossible as long as you continue to project or miscreate. It still remains within you, however, to extend as God extended his spirit to you. In reality, this is your only choice, because your free will was given you by your joy in creating the perfect.
I love that last line. It still remains within you, however, to extend as God extended his spirit to you. In reality, this is your choice because your free will was given you for your joy in creating the perfect. Which means that always in the Course in Miracles, it comes down to this one action step. How can I look through the eyes of the Holy Spirit at another and see God? I really do believe that when they talk about this extension, this creation, it is about choosing to see oneness. It is so simple, so difficult to do. But I think, as a Mandalorian would say in the Netflix series, this is the way. You know? So it is the way. This is what we're called to do, which means like, stop judging, stop condemning, stop comparing, lessen your fear, ask for the love of God to descend upon you so that you can reflect that love back and be a beacon back out into creation. Ask for that gift and do your best. That's all we can do. Well, cancel that. We can do more. We can work on whenever a fear thought comes into the mind to just cancel, clear it, and say, my choice is oneness. My choice is to see the divine. If your constant prayer is to see the divine, what do you think you'd start to create? What do you think your days would be like when you were out walking and your prayer in your mind was, let me see the divine. Just let me witness the presence of God. If that was your one prayer, would you not be experiencing the presence of God way more than you are currently? Would you not create that resonance inside of you? I think we would. And then there'd be a certain level of bliss that we would start to experience. And then maybe our separated minds wouldn't always be detoured into some place of fear. This is a journey, gang. It's certainly not a destination. But I always view it, I know this is a little macabre, but I'll say it anyways, that eventually at the end of the day, each one of us is going to be called upon to leap out of our bodies into the void of the unknown. And if we have not prepared to see the face of God in all things, I doubt if we'll be able to face death very gracefully. And I have been with too many people who have died that did not have a graceful death. And I have vowed to myself I would have a graceful death because I am not going to die layered in fear and doubt. I want to die like like it's my wedding day, and I'm going to go see the beloved and be one with that. I feel like I'm being all monkey on you guys, like, like a monk or something. All this stuff's coming out of my mouth. I don't even know where it's coming from.
I had a vision while you were talking about leaping out of your body about I don't know if any of you have seen I think it's Tombstone, where Val Kilmer's playing Doc Holliday. It's an older film, and he's playing Doc Holliday. He's got tuberculosis, and he's such an evil. He thinks he's really evil, but he's lying on his deathbed, and his friend had just come seeing him, and he's just lying there, and so he's actually dying, and he looks up and he goes, "Oh," as if like, "Oh, I've been so evil. Why am I seeing the light?" kind of thing. It's just really, I've just had that vision. I think it's my favorite role of Val Kilmer's, actually.
I have to see that now. I've never watched the movie.
Yeah.
But since that's inevitability, go ahead, B.
Oh, it's all right. I was talking about the movie, but yeah.
But that's an inevitability for all of us. And, are we preparing? And how are we preparing? It's like, there's a journey coming up that we're all going to take. I don't know if we've even remotely thought about packing and what we're going to put in our suitcase, you know. Are we preparing for that? And I personally think that, you know, the way you die is sort of determines your next incarnation. And so it becomes important that we start looking at how we build that, like we've built our idea of separation, thought by thought, word by word, contemplation by contemplation. I think that's the exact same way that we build our freedom, thought by thought, directing our minds more towards oneness than not. I think that this becomes a really, really powerful place for us to think about how on our, especially our day-to-day life, what is it are we building? And Carly, for some reason, I don't know why I want to say this, but it just came to me that this, what is coming out of us tonight, is really important for where you're going and the time you're going to be apart and the people you're going to meet. It's like, for some reason, it's really important for you. It's almost like you're going to be going into an environment, almost like you have to practice this state of oneness.
Yeah.
So I think it's timely for you, to tell you the truth. It's certainly timely for me. Does anyone have anything that they want to say? Because we're getting close to the time. And I've kind of monopolized the time. Does anyone have anything that they want to share or say?
I'd just like to say that you haven't monopolised the time at all. It's been very intriguing, and I can't believe that hour's gone by so damn quickly.
I know. That's what happens when I rattle my mouth too much. Time flies. It's like time's like, I don't want to hear him anymore. It's all good.
Was that a detour into fear then, Gary?
Undoubtedly, I just did a flash of a moment. Bea, did you want to say something, darling?
Well, I know what my last kind of my task for the week is to build my freedom with every thought. I love that.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that prayer that I came up with tonight of just like, I just pray that God gives me the grace to be one-pointedly in love with that power, to show me how to love that power best, to give me the grace to see his face in all things. I sure hate to put gender on it, but I don't know what else to say. So, but yeah, to let me see his face in all things.
Gender has become irrelevant anyway, so
I'll
right.
say it is almost irrelevant now, you know.
I think it always has been.
I know. Native American society, they say the gay men and women were always the counselors and of the tribe, because they carried what the Native Americans called the twin spirits, meaning they bridged that void between the masculine and the feminine, and they were somewhere in the middle that could understand both equally, and they were always the healers and always the mentors and the counselors. And personally, I think gender is irrelevant and the soul is what matters. And I would love to, at some point, I may or may not ever get this opportunity, but to speak to gay people in mass, to step into the role that I think they were born to do, which is to be the healers, to carry the twin spirits, to release the shame and the persecution of religion and step into the love of the divine and do the work here. and help people. That would be awesome.
That's what we're all doing.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. Well, I'm feeling pretty complete. Let's define a word that we want to leave with the group. Linda,
Cool.
you got the nice big smile on your face. Why don't you start?
I was just thinking, please don't pick me first because I need to think about it.
Don't smile at me, Linda.
That's
I'll
what the
call it
smile was
never
about,
done.
yeah. Oh gosh. Come back to me, Gary.
Okay, darling. Carly?
Thank you.
To see the spark of the divine in everyone.
Ah, love that.
I was going to say that.
See, we are
Um,
oneness. We all have the same one.
Yeah, that's right.
Veronica?
Well, I already said it. I'm building freedom with every thought.
Love that. Linda?
Continue to walk the path.
Say again?
Continue to walk the path.
I love that. And my sentence, I guess, is let me look into the eyes of God. This was an unusual evening tonight. For me, I got reattached, I think, to the deepest part of me.
Nice.
Yeah. So thank you all for showing up so I could run my mouth.
I hope you don't have a client after this, Gary, and that you can just go and chillax and think about it, what happened over this hour.
I just have one client and it's going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to it. So gang, I'm going to stay on the call because I need to speak to V a bit. So I'm going to stay on the call. Thank you guys for coming. And Linda, thank you for wherever you are, darling. You consistently show up and I really appreciate it. And Carly, you're going to be sorely missed, young lady.
Yeah, we will miss you.
Miss you too.
Have fun though.
You should
That's what it's
just
about.
sneak away. Just tell them you've got diarrhea for an hour and then just sneak away. And get on our Zoom call. Not now.
I think we're meant to be finding the truth, not learning how to tell lies.
Oh, let me have fun, Linda. Okay, you guys. We'll talk to you
All
later.
right. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.